Welcome to Standard Voice News Channel. I am Samira Ibrahim with today's bulletin, but first the major headlines. Governor Bello Muhammad Matawali and the burden of doing good. Senate President doubts Nigeria's readiness for vaccines. 2 million youths jobless as government suspends SIM card registration. On business, Naira gains significantly at black market as demand for dollars drop. On sports, Plateau plays players on half salary. And on the international scene, UK issues advisory on COVID-19 and Northeast insurgency. Now the news in details. Governor Bello Matawali of Zamfara State seems the most unjustly spated public officer since the beginning of armed banditry bred humanitarian crisis ravaging the larger section of Nigeria's northwest political zone. In the last fortnight, he intervened for the release of 344 students of the Kankara Government Science Secondary School in Katsina State, abducted by armed bandits a few days earlier. The release of this colossal number of abductees from their captors ends the fame of the most celebrated case since the beginning of terror-orchestrated humanitarian crisis in the country 20 years ago. The entire number of the abducted Kankara boys breathing the air of freedom after a few days in captivity without the government reportedly offering any dime as ransom to their captors, while to this day, about 100 of the about 300 Chibok schoolgirls abducted by Boko Haram in Borno State in 2014 are still in captivity, dead or alive. The bandits reportedly whisked the boys to the bushes of neighboring Zamfara State, stressing on Governor Bello Matawali a very heavy burden of responsibility as a politician and public officer, and the most trustworthy neighborliness as a governor suffering the same devastating banditry bread flight with his fellow Northwest governors, to take the major flank in the search for the boys. With Zamfara State being the epicenter of terror banditry, Governor Bello Matawali took over a terror-tattered state in their need of special tactics and strategies in combating the trans-border global-scale crime before it crushes the state to the most pathetic state of economic inconsequences in the Nigerian Federation. He immediately came to grips with the stark reality that there is no better option to explore than the carrot-and-stick approach, option suggested by former President Olusegun Obasanjo to the former President Umar Musa Yar'Adua and Goodluck Jonathan on Boko Haram in the Northeast in combating the Zamfara State situation. Security agencies have confirmed the killing of a notorious bandit, Nasiru Kacalla. This is contained in a statement by Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Homeland Affairs, Samuel Arwan, on Monday. The deceased bandit, killed by rivals, is reportedly responsible for a string of kidnappings, killings, and banditry on the Kaduna-Abuja route and other areas. Mr. Arwan said Mr. Kacalla, who has been on the run for masterminding several criminal acts, including kidnappings, killings, cattle rustling, and banditry, was killed in a clash between his gang and a rival group of bandits. For more details on this story, Rahma Ibrahim Dosara reports.
Human Intelligence Network confirmed that criminals from the rival sides were also killed, including some of Kachalla's lieutenants. Meanwhile, bandits have killed one person and abducted a newly wedded couple at Runka community in Safana local government area of Katsina State. The police public relations officer in the state, Gambo Isa, confirmed the incident to newsmen on Monday. A resident of Runka also told newsmen that the community was attacked by the armed men in the early hours of Monday. The victim, according to the resident, was simply identified as Samaila Super, an uncle to the lawmaker representing Safana constituency in Katsina State House of Assembly. Super, who was reported to have been killed after he resisted attempts by the bandits to kidnap him, was buried hours after the incident. The residents decried that a similar attack was carried out on Sunday where some scores of villagers were abducted at Babanduhu community. He noted that many locals were wounded during the incident and were taken to a hospital for medical treatment. Rahma Ibrahim Dosara reporting for SVTV News, Gusau.
Senate President Ahmad Lawal on Monday questioned the preparedness of the Federal Ministry of Health to effectively acquire, store and vaccinate Nigerians against COVID-19. This is coming as the Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi Ihanire, who was accompanied by his counterpart in the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, said the federal government has earmarked 400 billion naira for the acquisition of the COVID-19 vaccines. Mr. Lawal spoke when the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 visited him to brief the leadership of the upper chamber on the preparation by the federal government to acquire the COVID-19 vaccine for use in the country. For more details on this story, Fozia Ibrahim Dosara reports. The Senate President expressed doubt about the readiness for the federal government to manage the COVID-19 vaccination. Mr. Lawan said the National Assembly was ready to support the funding for adequate vaccines to protect Nigerians, but that the Ministry of Health must convince the National Assembly that they have adequate facilities and manpower to protect the proposed vaccines. Mr. Lawan insisted that the Health Ministry should provide the list and location of the storage facilities for inspection. Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omo Agegi, also joined in expressing doubt over the ability of the health officials to guarantee the safety of the vaccines. He expressed strong worry that the government so far had made preparations for only 4 cold chains for the vaccines in Abuja, Kano, Enugu and Lagos, and asked why the entire South-South region was not included in the plan. The Deputy Senate President also expressed worry that the vaccine might lose their efficiency on transit to the South-South if no facility was provided in the region. Omo Agegi urged the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to ensure that the citizens, especially from the zone, did not end up being inoculated with bad vaccines that may do many harm than good. Fozia Ibrahim reporting for SVTV. Despite glaring evidence of acute testing for coronavirus in Kogi State, the state governor, Yahaya Bello, claims a widespread testing campaign is being undertaken in the state and nobody has been infected. Reaffirming his controversial claims that there is no coronavirus infection in the state, Mr. Bello, in an interview with newsmen in Kogi, said they have no COVID-19 in the state. The governor has reportedly criticized the coronavirus response strategy in Nigeria, a situation that pitted him against federal officials and health professionals. For more details on the story, over now to our correspondent, Beauty Abdul Malik.
But in a phone-in interview, Mr. Bello, whose government had at least once scouted efforts by the country's infectious disease agency, NCDC, to coordinate COVID-19 tests, made claims of a massive testing regimen in the state. He said, after the earlier misunderstanding they had with the federal health officials and the NCDC, they later allowed them to step in and test people. After 1 month of intensive testing by their workers and officials, not one single person tested positive. The NCDC, Ministry of Health and the State Incident Management Team went around the institutions, marketplaces, motor parks, streets, villages, towns and cities, and not one single individual was confirmed positive. When students are resuming schools, they carry out tests on both indigent and non-indigent, and there has never been one single positive test. Beauty Abdul Malik reporting for SVTV News, Gusau.
Candidates that are to sit for next year's Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) will have their applications linked to their National Identification Number. This is despite the fact that the attempt to do so this year failed because of hiccups that trailed the exercise, which eventually led to its abandonment at the end of the day. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAMB) and the National Identification and Management Commission (NIM) have revealed that the exercise will be part of the criteria for registering for UTME in 2021. For more details on this story, Rahma Ibrahim Dosara reports.
Both agencies entered into an agreement early this year to make UTME candidates have their applicants linked to their national identification number. However, given the directive by the government that GSM operators should have the lines of their customers linked to their NIN, the pressure on NIMC is becoming overwhelming. The head of corporate affairs in the commission, Mr. Kayode Adegoke, who spoke to newsmen, said the NIN will be used as one of the criteria to register UTME candidates for next year because the earlier agreement signed between the two agencies is still subsisting. He explained that the NIN was not used in 2020 exercise due to some technical hitches that have been taken care of by the agency, assuring that NIMC was ready for the partnership as the agency had put all necessary machinery in motion to capture all the candidates. On whether National Identification Management Commission will have the capacity to capture the over 2 million prospective UTME candidates. He said measures had been put into place to capture at least 4 million persons in a month. In addition, Adegoke said with the recent licensing of 203 agents, to boost the capacity of the agency, the issue of capturing 2 million UTME candidates would not be an issue since the number of enrollments would be increased when the agents come on board next week. That has been the report. Rahma Ibrahim Dosari reporting for Svtv News Gusau.
About 2 million Nigerian youths have been rendered jobless by the recent suspension of cell registration and activation of SIM cards by the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. Arewa Telecom Operators Agents and SIM Card Dealers Association stated this while addressing reporters in Kaduna State. The telecom dealers, who claimed that they were aware of the federal government's intention to address security challenges through linkage of national identification number with mobile number and suspension of new SIM card registration, expressed worry that rendering 2 million youth jobless might worsen the security challenges in the country. Towards that, President Hassan Yakubu explained that, as a registered association under the Corporate Affairs Commission, members of the agent supported federal government measures to protect the lives and property of the citizenry. The union leader urged the government to consider that the cause of insecurity across the country have been linked to youth unemployment. He said the income of the telecom's business partners, workers and the agents, majority of whom are within 20 to 40 years in the value chain, is determined by the number of activations, SIM registration carried out within the month. Mr. Yakubu said the suspension of SIM card registration may trigger a worse form of insecurity, especially in the zones most affected by insecurity in the country. A 35-year-old woman, Mrs. Comfort Innocent, has confessed that she trafficked teenagers from Nigeria to Italy through the crisis riding Libya for prostitution. Comfort, who was arrested by the police in Ogun State, said her husband, who lived in Italy, received the trafficked girls. She added that she had been in the trade for a long time. For more details on the story, Beauty Abdul Malik reports.
The suspect was arrested on December 22 in connection with the adoption and trafficking of 2 underage girls. Her arrest followed a report by Oluwaseun Aduratola and Sakirat Fasasi, residents of Sion Town in Obafemi, Owode local government, who told detectives at Owode Eba police station that the suspect adopted their daughters, Blessing Aduratola, 15 years old, and Hasisat Fasasi, 16 years old. The mothers complained that the suspect was on the verge of trafficking their daughters to Italy through Libya, where they would be forced into prostitution. The divisional police officer for Owode Eba Division, Matthew Edia, led a team of detectives to arrest the suspect. Police spokesman Abimbola Oyeyemi, who disclosed this in a statement, said the suspect had admitted during interrogation to being a human trafficker who had been in the business for a long time. Abimbola, a deputy superintendent of police, quoted the suspect as saying that her husband, who is based in Italy, receives the girls, while she stays in Nigeria recruiting young girls and sending them to Italy en route Libya. He said the 2 girls the suspect adopted were taken to Kaduna State. from where they would be transported to Libya, adding that they had, however, been rescued in Kaduna State by the police. Commissioner of Police Edward Ajogun has directed that the suspects be transferred to the Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Labour Unit of the state's Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department for further investigation. Report by Beauty Abdulmalik, Svtv Gusau.
At least 23 people have been killed in a road crash around Masha village along the Makera Mokwal Road in Mashegu local government area of Niger State. The Federal Road Safety Corps said on Monday that no fewer than 33 others sustained varying degrees of injury during the accident. The FRSC sector commander in Niger, Joel Dogwa, disclosed this to newsmen, adding that the accident occurred on Monday afternoon. Mr. Dogwa explained that the accident was a lone crash involving only a blue DAF trailer 95 model and was as a result of speed limit violation and loss of control. He noted that the trailer loaded with cows took off from Kebbi to Lagos State and was also carrying 55 adult males. The sector commander stated after the accident, the victims were taken to the General Hospital in Mokwa for treatment, where 23 of them were certified dead. Let me quickly take you to our business desk for the business updates. Hello and welcome to Business Desk. The Naira appreciated significantly against the dollar, closing at 465 Naira to a dollar at the power market on Thursday, December 24th, 2020. The forex turnover dropped by 16% as the Naira's exchange rate at the NAFEX window remained stable against the dollar to close at 392 Naira to a dollar during intraday trading on Thursday, December 24th. Also, the Naira appreciated significantly against the dollar, closing at 465 Naira to a dollar at the power market on Thursday, December 24th, 2020, as demand for foreign exchange drops. According to information from Aboki Foreign Exchange, a prominent foreign exchange tracking website at the black markets where forex is traded unofficially, the Naira appreciated against the dollar to close at 465 Naira to a dollar on Thursday, a 10 Naira gain when compared to the 475 Naira to a dollar at its exchange for on Wednesday, December 23, 2020. The local currency has strengthened by about 7.8% within 1 week in September at the black market, as the CBN introduced some measures targeted at exporters and importers. This is to boost the supply of dollar in the foreign exchange market and reduce the high demand for forex by traders. However, the gains appear to have been completely erased with the recent crash of the exchange rates. The CBN also sold over $1 billion to bureau de change since they resumed forex sales on Monday, September 7, 2020. This was expected to inject more liquidity into the retail end of the foreign exchange market and discourage holding the speculation. Despite the CBN's intervention, the huge demand backlog by manufacturers and foreign investors still puts pressures and creates a volatile situation in the foreign exchange market. The Naira remained stable against the dollar in the investors and exporters A&E window on Thursday, closing at 392 Naira to a dollar. This was the same rate that it exchanged for on Wednesday, December 23, 2020. The opening indicative rate was 392 Naira 15 kobo to a dollar on Thursday, and this represents a 98 kobo gain when compared to the 393 Naira 13 kobo that was recorded on Wednesday. Still on the business update. Hopes of lower construction caused by prospective homeowners may have been dashed, going by fresh increase in price of cement and related products. The increase has already triggered triple effects in the open market, where prices have gone up by as much as 60% in recent weeks. The rising prices have also worsened construction costs in the sector, railing under pressures from disputive policies and ineffective housing supplies. Newsman investigations revealed that the export of the product to neighboring countries, despite huge domestic demand, may be responsible for the shortage. The federal government recently granted Dangote Cement and BUA permission to transport products across the border despite closure. Cement and byproducts in neighboring countries command higher prices. Distributors hinted that there was increase in ex-factory prices due to economic realities, which prompted many dealers to change prices. And that's all on the business updates. I'm Fawzia Ibrahim. Do have a nice day. Thank you, Fawzia. On sport, over to Abu Sufyan.
Hello, welcome to Standard Voice Television Sports Room. I'm Abu Sufyan, and as usual, I bring the sports updates. The management of Plateau United has placed the entire team on half salary following their post-start to the Nigerian Professional Football League after losing 2-0 to Kwara United of Ilorin in the New Jos Stadium in the opening fixture of the NPFL. General manager of the club, Pius Henwan, gave the directive while addressing players and coaches of the team, even as he explained that the team has no excuse whatsoever to not beat Kwara United. Mr. Henwan lamented that despite the state government's huge investment in the team, the players are not reciprocating the gesture, warning anybody who is not ready to work for the collective aspiration of the team will be shown the way out. General manager of the club said Plateau United is a big brand in Nigerian football and anyone who is not ready to defend the colours of the club should bow out. Meanwhile, in the Nigerian Premier League matches played on Monday, Katsina United came from behind twice before snatching a late 3-2 win against Heartland Football Club of Owerri in one of the two Nigerian Professional Football League matches played on Monday. The Nez Millionaires went in front twice, courtesy of goals from Bright Onyedikachi and Samuel Nosiri, but the Chenji boys were resolute, cancelling out each of those goals before netting the winner in the closing stage. Bobakar Masali helped Katsina United put level twice before substitute Samuel Kalu got the all-important winning goal in the stoppage time to give the hosts the hard-earned 3-2 win. In Uyo, the first derby in 2020-2021 NPFL season ended in a stalemate as Akwa United and Dakar FC settled for a 0-0 draw at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium. Having played out an entertaining 2-2 draw earlier this year, many fans had expected a similar display, but instead, it was a boring 0-0 draw at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium. And that's all we have on sports today. Back to the newsroom.
And on the international scene, the British High Commission in Nigeria has issued fresh advisory on coronavirus disease and security threats in the country. It said the security environment in the Northeast has deteriorated since 2018. It also claimed that there is a high threat of kidnapping throughout Nigeria. These details are contained in the update advisory on the website of the Commission against the backdrop of resurgence of coronavirus and security challenges in the country. The Commission said from Monday 28 December, additional arrival procedures will be in place for passengers whose journey starts from the UK or South Africa. Passengers must present their pre-departure permit to fly and a QR code confirming they have booked a test for the 7th day after arrival in Nigeria. They must also provide evidence of a negative COVID PCR result from a test taken within the 96 hours prior to boarding. On arrival, these passengers will proceed by the public health authorities separately to those from other destinations. Regarding security threat in the country, the Commission said the situation in the Northeast has deteriorated since 2018. It asked its citizens to be safety conscious because Boko Haram and other terrorist groups are after Western interest. It added that the security environment in the Northeast has deteriorated since 2018 and there is a heightened risk of kidnapping. Terrorists are very likely to try to carry out attacks in Nigeria. Most attacks occurred in the Northeast, particularly in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa states. Kidnaps in the Northeast have included humanitarian and private sector workers. There are also reports that Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa ISWAP are continuing to actively plan to kidnap foreigners. As well as in the Northeast Nigeria, extremist groups operate in some northern and middle belt states, including Bauchi, Gombe, Kano, Kogi, Kaduna, Niger, and Adamawa states. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Governor Bello Matawali and the burden of doing good. The Senate President doubts Nigeria's readiness for vaccines. 2 million Nigerian youths are rendered jobless due to suspension of SIM card registration. On business, Naira gains significantly at black market as demand for dollar drop. On sports, Plateau plays players on half salary. And on the international scene, UK issues advisory on COVID-19 and Northeast insurgency in Nigeria. That's the news. On behalf of the production crew, Head of News and Current Affairs Department, Ibrahim Garbatano, I am Samira Ibrahim, wishing you a pleasant day. Keep watching Standard Voice Television News. Goodbye.